Hi, this is how to model some stupid shoes or whatever, using Fusion 360. Alright, so before we begin, I've got a couple disclaimers. First, very little effort was put into the design process of this shoe, so the focus here won't be on design. Also, this is the first shoe I've ever tried to make, so I've made some mistakes, and I'll try and call them out as we go. And finally, I should also note that this is not meant to be a comprehensive step-by-step guide to shoe modeling. I just wanted to share some modeling techniques that I've seen some people use, but not very many people talk about. So, hope it's helpful, and let's begin. Alright, so I started by bringing in a model of a foot. I think I got this guy off of GrabCAD. If you have a SAT or a step file, any kind of surface or solid model, you have to upload it to your project folder, and then you can open it. That's what this guy is right here. And what I'm doing here is I'm scaling this, rotating it, making sure that it's in the right orientation and scale for what I'm working with. And you can also create a sketch with dimensions to check and see if the dimensions are correct. And here I'm going to do a non-proportional scale to scale it to the dimensions that I just created. And when we're done messing around here, we're going to export this as an STL file. You can do that by right-clicking on the body and say save as an STL, and save out the mesh as low resolution because we're only going to be using this as a reference. So here in a new file, we're going to import our foot that we just exported. To do this, you need to create a base feature, and then you can go insert, and you can insert your STL file. That's this guy right here. We're going to do a couple checks here to make sure that it's in the right orientation. It actually wasn't in this particular case. I actually had to rotate this so that the top is top, front is front, all that stuff. So you will only be able to manipulate this mesh when you're in the base feature. Once you get out of the base feature, this will be kind of a locked object in your model tree. So it's best that if you have to do any manipulation or modification to this mesh file, you do it while you're still in the base feature. And here I'm just rotating this guy into place. So when we're done with all that, we're going to exit our base feature, and then we're going to start creating the model. So we're going to start our model by entering the sculpt environment. And we'll start by creating a plane that is 1x1 face. And we're going to just use this, and we're going to manipulate this until we create the base of the shoe. Getting the first plane into place. And now I'm just alt dragging and creating the ring around the ankle and bridging the end here. Continuing to manipulate the top, and then we're going to alt drag down kind of getting the rough shape to start with. We're just welding when necessary and bridging when necessary. Now we're just closing off the bottom. So some people would probably like to create this model starting with a box and manipulating the box, and that's okay. I just tend to like having a more direct manipulation, so I start with a plane. So now it's just tweaking the vertices and making sure that the form is what we want. And this can be as long or as short of a process as you would like. To be quite honest, I would have rather spent a little bit more time here because this ultimately is what's going to define the end shape of the shoe. So if you get this right, then the better the shoe will be. It would have also been nice to have found a cleaner topology for this mesh. ultimately the topology is what's going to determine the cleanliness of the resulting surface after we exit this sculpting environment. And here I'm just continuing to manipulate, trying to get these things into shape. Here I switched over into the different display mode. This is polygonal mode, so I can check and see how the underlying mesh is actually shaping up. Manipulating some things here to make sure that the mesh will result in a clean surface. And when we're done, we're just going to turn it back into smooth mode. And just continue tweaking here. And then when we get out of sculpting mode, we have our surface. Now if we go into patch mode, we can go in here, we can flip the normal so we can see it correctly. And then create a copy of the surface body so that we can keep our original intact while we continue to model. And now I'm going to go back into creating another T-spline body. In this case, we're going to create a feature for trimming out the top of the shoe. Just going to insert an edge here at this point up here so that we can get a little bit tighter curvature. I'm also going to create a plane up here to trim out the top section. And now when we exit the sculpt environment, we're going to try and trim out. I actually made a mistake here. I didn't, there was a portion of this body that didn't intersect, so I had to go back into the T-spline body and manipulate so that it intersected. And now we're just trimming out some of the sections. And again, this is trimmed off of the copy of the original body that we made. The original body is still intact. Now we're just going to make another copy of it. We're going to make another layer of the shoe. Do kind of a similar thing. We can actually see the other body in this view, so we're going to use that as a reference, but I'm going to manipulate this so that it goes a little bit further out. Again, I'm going to use this to trim out this layer, and that's the tongue. And now we're going to use the thicken command to thicken the tongue, make this into a solid body. Just moving the face down, fill it in the edges.